Gorilla Monsoon was one of wrestling's most beloved figures, whose distinctive commentary made him the voice of WWE for an entire generation. He went from being a feared 400-pound wrestler to becoming Vince McMahon's trusted right-hand man, both on-screen and behind the curtain. If protection was needed or someone needed straightened out, Monsoon was the man asked. However, in 1994, tragedy struck when Gorilla's son Joey was killed in a car accident, a loss that visibly aged the beloved announcer overnight. In 1999, battling numerous health problems, Monsoon would make his final appearance at WrestleMania 15, not knowing it would be his last bow to the squared circle. In 1937, Robert Marella was born in Rochester, New York. Before entering the squared circle, Marella was an accomplished amateur wrestler and football player at Ithaca College, where he developed the impressive physical foundation that would define his career. During the 1950s and 60s, professional wrestling operated through independent territories across America, each controlling specific geographic regions. The Northeast belonged to Vince McMahon Sr. SWWF, the Midwest to Vern Gagne's AWA, while other regions had their own promotions like Jim Crockett's Mid-Atlantic and Jerry Jarrett and Jerry Lawler's Memphis territory. Each developed distinctive wrestling styles tailored to local audiences. This fragmented system created unique challenges and opportunities. Wrestlers traveled between territories to keep their characters fresh, working up to 300 nights annually. The National Wrestling Alliance, NWA, served as the connector between territories, with its champion traveling nationwide to face local heroes. The territorial era demanded wrestlers make immediate impressions through visually striking characters. Without months of television to develop personalities, performers needed instant audience connections. This environment fostered larger-than-life personas that triggered immediate emotional responses. For someone with natural physical gifts but lacking a distinctive character, this system provided multiple opportunities to find the right presentation. The territorial era created the perfect incubator for Robert Marella. Standing 6 feet 6 inches and weighing over 300 pounds after his collegiate career, Marella had the raw materials to become extraordinary. What he needed was the right character to transform from an impressive athlete into something audiences had never seen before. The territorial system, with its appetite for larger-than-life characters and visually striking personas, offered the perfect environment for such a transformation. That star-making transformation would require more than just a name change. It demanded the systematic destruction of Robert Marella's true identity. The wrestling business asks much from its performers, but few have ever sacrificed their identity as completely as Robert "Tiny" Marella did when becoming Gorilla Monsoon. Behind this dramatic metamorphosis lay a calculated gamble. Could a well-educated, articulate athlete from New York convince audiences he was actually a terrifying wild man who consumed raw flesh? At Ithaca College in the early 1950s, Robert Marella was anything but monstrous. Known affectionately as Tiny by his teammates, an ironic nickname given his already imposing size, Marella excelled athletically. His most remarkable achievement came in wrestling, where he demonstrated his natural power with an astonishing 18-second pin that set school records. This legitimate athletic background would later provide crucial credibility to his professional persona. The wrestling business of the 1950s demanded characters who stirred powerful emotions. Audiences weren't paying to watch sophisticated mat wrestling, they wanted larger-than-life figures. For Marella, blessed with natural size but lacking a compelling character, this presented both a challenge and an opportunity. Like a caterpillar entering its chrysalis, he would need to shed his collegiate identity entirely to emerge as something unrecognizable. New York wrestling promoter Pedro Martinez first spotted Marella's potential. Martinez recognized his unique combination of size with surprising athleticism. In 1958, Marella entered the professional ranks as Gino Mela, initially embracing his Italian-American heritage as a babyface, wrestling term for a hero. This initial persona gave no hint of the radical transformation awaiting him. Wrestling promoters realized that Marella's unique physical attributes could be particularly effective if positioned as a villain. The industry had long understood that audiences would pay to see heroic figures battle seemingly unstoppable monsters. What made Marella valuable was his legitimate athletic background, adding credibility to his performances at a time when wrestling's scripted nature wasn't openly acknowledged. What followed was one of the most dramatic character reinventions in wrestling history. Rather than simply changing names, Marella completely abandoned his Italian-American identity. He grew a long, scraggly beard and deliberately transformed his body through a rigorous weight-gaining regimen. Starting at roughly 330 pounds, he consistently consumed massive quantities of food until reaching a build weight of approximately 400 pounds. One promoter reportedly instructed him to eat until you can't see your feet anymore. This physical transformation fundamentally changed Marella's in-ring style. Instead of relying on technical wrestling skills from college, his increased mass allowed him to develop a style centered on power and dominance. The metamorphosis served dual purposes, making him visually intimidating while allowing him to work a physically sustainable style across grueling event schedules. Beyond physical changes, his character development proved crucial. No longer Robert Marella or Gino Mila, he became Gorilla Monsoon, a name evoking primitive fear. Promoters crafted an elaborate backstory. Monsoon was supposedly a wild man from Manchuria, discovered living in isolation, wrestling bears for practice, and consuming raw meat. The transformation was so complete that when he first appeared in Boston Garden, one ringside reporter wrote, "The creature that entered the arena barely resembled a man, much less a collegiate athlete." This reinvention made audiences genuinely afraid. Children would cry at the sight of him, while adults recoiled from his wild appearance. Marella's commitment to the role elevated it further. He maintained the character's mystique in public, avoiding situations that might reveal his true nature as an educated, articulate man. The contrast between Robert Marella, the college graduate, and Gorilla Monsoon, the savage, was striking in its completeness. The transformation was particularly remarkable for its time. While wrestlers regularly moved between territories when characters grew stale, Marella's reinvention went beyond typical adjustments. He obliterated his previous identity entirely, creating one of wrestling's most thorough metamorphoses. The effectiveness of this reinvention relied on psychology as much as physical changes. Wrestling audiences responded strongly to cultural stereotypes. By positioning Monsoon as a foreign threat from a mysterious Asian country, promoters tapped into existing fears. His presentation as a barely civilized savage took this concept to new extremes. For promoters, Monsoon became a perfect opponent for heroic champions. His size and presentation made him a credible threat that audiences believed might defeat their favorites. This was particularly important for Bruno Sammartino, the WWF's biggest star, who needed imposing villains. The Marella to Monsoon transformation provided exactly what the territory needed: a monster who could plausibly threaten even the strongest heroes. The character's effectiveness extended beyond appearance. Monsoon developed signature moves emphasizing his supposedly savage background and overwhelming power. His wrestling style became more primitive and brutal, showcasing raw strength rather than technical sophistication. This completed his transformation from athlete to monster, enabling him to become one of wrestling's most memorable villains. While most monster heels relied solely on power, Monsoon's unexpected agility created an unsettling effect that genuinely disturbed audiences. His 400-pound frame suggested he should move like a lumbering giant, but instead, he possessed a cat-like quickness that defied physical logic. This contradiction between expectation and reality made his performances particularly effective. Audiences couldn't reconcile how someone so massive could move with such surprising speed and coordination. The airplane spin became Monsoon's signature move and a visual spectacle that cemented his fearsome reputation. Picture this: a 400-pound behemoth lifting a fully grown man completely over his head, spinning him around as if he weighed nothing. Terrifying in its execution, the move showcased raw power while striking fear for his victim's safety. Opponents' legs flailed outward from centrifugal force as fans simultaneously marveled and recoiled. When the spin finally ended, Monsoon would unceremoniously dump his dizzy opponent to the canvas, often following up with devastating chops or slams. What truly separated Monsoon from other large wrestlers was his ability to maintain intensity throughout lengthy matches. Many big men of the era excelled in short bursts, but quickly lost steam in longer contests. Monsoon, however, could keep pace with technical wrestlers like Bruno Sammartino in grueling extended battles. This endurance factor made him particularly dangerous. Opponents couldn't simply outlast him and wait for fatigue to set in. His conditioning allowed him to maintain his savage character from bell to bell, without the noticeable decline in energy that often betrayed the limitations of other super heavyweight performers. Like a hurricane that combines both overwhelming force and unexpected precision, Monsoon's physical presence created a perfect storm in the ring. His effectiveness came from the psychological element of his performance. When he entered an arena, he wouldn't acknowledge the fans' jeers or engage with them in the traditional heel manner. Instead, he maintained a focused intensity, moving with purpose toward the ring, as if he wasn't there to entertain but to hunt. This subtle approach heightened his mystique. He appeared to be a dangerous predator who had somehow been allowed into a wrestling ring. Monsoon's offense reinforced his savage backstory through deliberate choreography. Rather than executing crisp technical maneuvers, he would deliver powerful chops and slams with an untrained brutality that suggested he hadn't learned wrestling in a gym, but through survival in the wilderness. When applying submissions, he wouldn't strategically target specific joints as a trained wrestler might. He would simply apply crushing pressure anywhere he could grab, as if trying to squeeze the life from his prey, rather than score a technical victory. Perhaps most crucial to Monsoon's fearsome aura was the protective booking strategy employed by promoters. As wrestling historian Dave Meltzer noted, Monsoon's protected status created a level of legitimacy that few other performers of his era achieved. Fans genuinely believed he couldn't be beaten, which is the highest compliment to both performer and booker. This careful management of his record created a unique dramatic tension in Monsoon's matches. When he faced popular babyfaces, fans genuinely believed their heroes might not win. This uncertainty generated authentic emotion that's difficult to replicate in modern wrestling, where audience sophistication has largely eliminated that level of suspense. When Monsoon locked in a bear hug on a beloved champion, the collective anxiety in arenas was palpable. Audiences genuinely feared their hero might submit. Monsoon's character development extended beyond physical presentation to include specific behaviors that reinforced his feral nature. During matches, he would sometimes drop to all fours and stalk his opponents like a predator. This animalistic behavior created uncomfortable moments for audiences. They weren't watching a man pretending to be tough. They were witnessing someone who appeared to have genuinely reverted to primitive instincts. His interviews and promos contributed significantly to his intimidation factor. When he did communicate, it was often through guttural sounds, roars, and aggressive physical gestures interpreted by his managers. This communication style prevented him from falling into the common heel trap of talking too much. Unlike villains who spent minutes explaining their motivations, Monsoon remained an enigma, his intentions known only through his actions. Wrestling historians often note that Monsoon's effectiveness stemmed from his commitment to portraying controlled rage, rather than cartoonish anger. While many villains would fly into wild tantrums, Monsoon's fury appeared calculated and purposeful, the difference between a predator's strategic aggression and a child's temper tantrum. When he became angry, his movements would become more precise rather than more chaotic, suggesting a frightening level of focus rather than emotional loss of control. Those calculating eyes behind Monsoon's savage exterior weren't just for show. They belonged to a master strategist who understood the business of drawing money. His carefully crafted persona was about to meet its perfect foil in wrestling's most beloved hero, creating a rivalry so compelling it would repeatedly sell out the world's most famous arena and define an era of professional wrestling. In the wrestling business, nothing draws crowds like the perfect hero-villain dynamic. The confrontation between Bruno Sammartino and Gorilla Monsoon embodied this principle at its highest level. Sammartino represented the American dream for thousands of Italian immigrants who packed northeastern arenas. His journey from sickly child to powerful champion resonated deeply with working-class fans who saw their own struggles mirrored in his success story. When these titans clashed, the storytelling became electric. Sammartino stood for civilization, determination, and immigrant achievement, while Monsoon represented the savage threat to everything the champion had built. Their physical contrast heightened the drama. Sammartino's muscular but proportionate physique against Monsoon's towering, 400-pound frame. The Italian strongman versus the wild man from Manchuria created wrestling's ultimate morality play. The financial success of their rivalry stemmed from meticulous booking that preserved both men's credibility. Their matches typically ended in disqualifications when Monsoon ignored referees' instructions, countouts when battles spilled outside the ring, or time-limit draws. This approach ensured neither wrestler sacrificed their aura, allowing multiple rematches that continuously attracted massive crowds. Madison Square Garden repeatedly sold out for their confrontations. Fans lined up for hours, bringing homemade signs supporting Sammartino or condemning Monsoon. One particular match in 1973 drew such fervent crowds that arena security had to turn away hundreds of ticket holders who arrived after capacity was reached, creating near riots outside the venue. The electricity during their matches generated an atmosphere that veteran fans still discuss with reverence today. These high-profile battles elevated Monsoon's status beyond mere villain. Fans who initially came for Sammartino gradually recognized Monsoon's unique athletic gifts and commanding presence. Backstage, promoters noted how Monsoon merchandise began selling alongside hero products, a rarity for villains of that era. The feud transformed him from another obstacle into one of wrestling's premier attractions who could credibly threaten any champion. Vince McMahon. Sire's promotional strategy fueled this success. Rather than rushing through feuds, McMahon cultivated long-term rivalries that sustained interest over months or years. By protecting both wrestlers through strategic match finishes, he maximized their drawing power while building Monsoon into a cornerstone attraction for the company. While the Sammartino rivalry defined much of Monsoon's in-ring career, a 1976 exhibition with Muhammad Ali brought him unprecedented mainstream attention. As part of promoting Ali's match against Antonio Inoki, the boxing champion participated in an impromptu ring encounter with Monsoon that blurred lines between scripted entertainment and athletic competition. As cameras rolled and journalists watched, Monsoon demonstrated his imposing presence by hoisting boxing's greatest champion into his signature airplane spin, rotating Ali completely over his head before depositing him back on the canvas. Ali, known for his showmanship, played his part perfectly. His genuine surprise at Monsoon's strength registered on his face as photographers captured the moment. This confrontation generated publicity beyond wrestling publications, appearing in mainstream sports columns and newspapers. For audiences who never attended wrestling events, this became their introduction to Gorilla Monsoon. The exposure elevated his profile and cemented his reputation as legitimate, even among skeptics who questioned wrestling's authenticity. The timing proved particularly significant as Monsoon was transitioning toward the later stages of his in-ring career. The Ali moment provided a perfect capstone to his wrestling persona before he began shifting toward other roles within the company. The Sammartino rivalry and Ali confrontation bookend Monsoon's in-ring legacy, the former showing his ability to draw money consistently through traditional wrestling storytelling, the latter demonstrating his capacity to generate mainstream interest through a single memorable moment. Together, they established him as a cornerstone figure who helped build the WWF into a financial powerhouse in the northeastern United States. These achievements become more impressive considering the era's promotional limitations. Without social media or widespread television coverage, wrestling relied on local TV shows, newspaper coverage, and word of mouth. Monsters like Monsoon needed to generate visceral reactions through in-person performances rather than viral moments. The lessons from Monsoon's feuds continue influencing wrestling storytelling today. Protecting competitors while delivering satisfying matches remains central to building long-term programs. The visual impact of contrasting physical types still drives successful rivalries. And the good versus evil dynamic that Monsoon and Sammartino perfected continues as the foundation of professional wrestling's most profitable feuds across every era. By the late 1970s, Gorilla Monsoon faced a reality that eventually confronts every professional wrestler: a body that could no longer withstand the physical demands of the ring. While many aging performers faded into obscurity when their in-ring careers ended, Monsoon was about to embark on a second act that would completely redefine his legacy in professional wrestling. The transformation of the Savage from Manchuria, a man who had terrorized Bruno Sammartino and supposedly couldn't speak English, into a distinguished commentator represented one of wrestling's most remarkable metamorphoses. Like a caterpillar emerging as an elegant butterfly, Monsoon shed the primitive character that defined his ring career and revealed something entirely unexpected beneath. Behind the wild man exterior was a naturally gifted communicator with a flair for articulation. The transition occurred gradually, allowing audiences to adjust to this new version of a man they had feared for years. Monsoon began sitting in on commentary while still actively wrestling, giving viewers glimpses of his surprisingly polished speaking voice. This new role revealed an entirely different side of the man. The contrast was striking. The imposing figure who had once charged around the ring on all fours now calmly analyzed matches with sophisticated language. Monsoon displayed an authoritative command of speech that immediately lent credibility to his commentary. Terms like perpendicular, posterior, and lateral press became staples of his broadcasting vocabulary. Vince McMahon Sr. recognized Monsoon's communication skills as a valuable asset. Rather than letting a trusted performer drift away as his in-ring career concluded, McMahon featured Monsoon more prominently behind the microphone. This strategic decision capitalized on Monsoon's ability to connect with audiences while leveraging his extensive knowledge of wrestling psychology. His commentary carried exceptional credibility. Unlike broadcasters who had never competed, Monsoon spoke with authority about wrestlers' experiences. When describing the pain of a submission hold or the impact of a body slam, audiences knew he was speaking from personal experience. This authenticity gave his analysis unique weight. Listening to Gorilla on commentary was like having a professor who could bench press 400 pounds explaining the nuances of a street fight, fellow announcer Gene Okerlund once remarked. He brought legitimacy through his experience but delivered it with unexpected eloquence. The warm, professional demeanor Monsoon displayed at the commentary desk revealed the true Robert Marella, distinct from the fearsome character he had portrayed for years. Colleagues often remarked on this contrast. The man once billed as eating raw fish by riverbanks was, in reality, articulate, intelligent, and respected throughout the industry. Jarring to hear intelligent commentary from a man they had spent years fearing. Wrestling magazines occasionally published letters from confused fans, wondering if this was the same Gorilla Monsoon. As he settled into commentary, Monsoon's past as a fearsome villain became an asset. He referenced his own matches and feuds, providing insider perspectives that enhanced broadcasts. When a wrestler executed a power move, Monsoon could compare it to his own repertoire, adding layers of authenticity to his analysis. When Vince McMahon Jr. took control in 1982, he demonstrated remarkable loyalty to those who had been faithful to his father's company. McMahon purchased Monsoon's shares in the promotion and guaranteed him lifetime employment, testament to his value to the organization. From that point, Monsoon became one of Vince Jr.'s most trusted figures behind the scenes, helping guide the company through its national expansion. The timing couldn't have been more fortuitous. As Monsoon's voice became familiar to audiences, the WWF began its unprecedented expansion. When wrestling exploded into mainstream culture in the mid-1880s, it was Monsoon's voice that guided new fans through this spectacle. For an entire generation, Gorilla Monsoon wasn't a savage villain. He was the authoritative voice that explained professional wrestling. What made this transformation remarkable was its completeness. While many wrestlers bring elements of their in-ring persona to commentary, Monsoon completely reinvented himself. Nothing in his professional, articulate style suggested the savage character he had portrayed for years. This duality created a fascinating historical footnote. The man once presented as an uncontrollable savage became the steady voice guiding viewers through chaotic moments. The figure who had instilled fear became a comforting presence. As his commentary career progressed, younger fans knew him only as the distinguished announcer whose catchphrases defined wrestling broadcasting in the 1980s. In many ways, Monsoon's second career ultimately eclipsed his first, with his commentary work becoming his most enduring legacy. That respected voice would soon be paired with one of wrestling's most controversial personalities in a combination nobody saw coming: Jesse. The Body Ventura wasn't just another color commentator. He was about to help Monsoon create the blueprint that every wrestling broadcast team has followed since. As the WWF began its unprecedented national expansion in the 1980s, wrestling commentary faced a unique challenge. No longer confined to local markets, broadcasts needed to captivate millions of new viewers while explaining the spectacle to audiences unfamiliar with professional wrestling's unique blend of athleticism and storytelling. During this rockin' wrestling era, when celebrities like Cyndi Lauper and Mr. T brought mainstream attention to the industry, Monsoon's commanding voice became the steady hand guiding viewers through the chaos. His ability to legitimize the increasingly theatrical product while maintaining his credibility as a former wrestler proved invaluable as the WWF reached unprecedented heights of popularity. For millions of new fans, Gorilla Monsoon was simply the voice of wrestling. The Monsoon-Ventura partnership transformed wrestling presentation fundamentally. They broke from tradition where announcers universally praised heroes and condemned villains. Ventura defended the heels and challenged narratives, while Monsoon maintained order as the voice of reason. This tension created compelling television, with Monsoon's authority anchoring Ventura's outlandish claims. Their visual contrast enhanced their dynamic. Monsoon in professional suits and ties, Ventura with feather boas, sunglasses, and outrageous outfits. This pairing was as entertaining to watch as it was to listen to. During WrestleMania 3, when Hulk Hogan body-slammed Andre the Giant, Monsoon's iconic call rang out, "Hogan has him up. The big man is up and down with the slam." I don't believe it. His genuine excitement and booming voice gave the moment historical weight that fans still remember decades later. Monsoon's broadcasting style featured signature catchphrases that became part of wrestling's vocabulary. His proclamations that fans will be hanging from the rafters or that pandemonium had broken out during chaotic moments added to the big event feel of major matches. His commentary elevated performances, reserving his biggest reactions for truly significant spots, making those moments feel genuinely important. When Ventura departed, Monsoon found another perfect foil in Bobby the Brain Heenan. Their partnership created a different but equally compelling dynamic, built on genuine friendship that translated to natural chemistry. While Ventura's commentary often carried an edge of antagonism toward Monsoon, the Heenan-Monsoon relationship allowed for more humor and playfulness while maintaining their respective roles. Their on-screen chemistry became known for witty banter and running jokes, frequently leaving both men struggling to maintain composure on air. During a 1992 Royal Rumble match, Heenan frantically supported Ric Flair throughout his record-setting performance, with Monsoon repeatedly reining in Heenan's enthusiasm with quick-witted comebacks, creating a commentary masterclass that many fans consider the gold standard of wrestling broadcasting. This friendship ran deep. Years later, during Heenan's WWE Hall of Fame induction speech, he expressed heartfelt wishes that Monsoon could have been there to share the moment. This personal connection added an authentic element to their broadcast that viewers could sense, even if they couldn't identify it. Not every broadcasting partnership succeeded, however. Monsoon's chemistry with other announcers varied widely. Jim Ross recalled Monsoon's frustration after working with Randy Savage during the 1994 King of the Ring event, noting their styles simply didn't mesh. This highlighted the importance of compatibility in commentary teams and demonstrated why the Ventura and Heenan partnerships thrived. During his most productive period in the late 1980s and early 1990s, Monsoon's voice was ubiquitous across WWF programming. He called the first 8 WrestleManias, anchored programs like WWF Wrestling Challenge and All-American Wrestling, and co-hosted Primetime Wrestling. His versatility extended beyond core programming. He briefly co-hosted Georgia Championship Wrestling on WTBS during Vince McMahon's attempted expansion into southern markets. Monsoon's approach established a template that wrestling broadcasters continue following today. The straight-laced play-by-play announcer paired with an outlandish color commentator became standard practice throughout the industry. Modern commentary teams still feature this fundamental division of responsibilities. He brought credibility to increasingly outlandish storylines through seriousness and professionalism. When wrestling pivoted toward cartoonish characters and implausible scenarios, Monsoon's matter-of-fact delivery helped audiences suspend disbelief and enjoy the spectacle. His commentary balanced technical expertise with accessibility. Monsoon could break down complex techniques in ways that educated newer fans without alienating longtime viewers. This educational aspect helped millions understand and appreciate wrestling's nuances during its national expansion. The influence of Monsoon's commentary blueprint extends far beyond WWE and into modern broadcasting. Today's commentators across AEW, Impact Wrestling, and international promotions all follow variations of the formula he pioneered, providing a historical thread connecting wrestling's past to its present, and demonstrating how one man's voice shaped how generations experience professional wrestling. The voice that guided millions through wrestling's biggest moments was only half the story. Behind the commentary desk sat a man with enough backstage influence to rival even Vince McMahon himself during WWE's most transformative years. While fans heard his trademark calls, wrestlers faced a very different Gorilla Monsoon, one whose approval could make or break careers in the ruthlessly competitive world of 1980s professional wrestling. Monsoon's WWF Presidency, from 1995 to 1997, carried genuine authority that shaped the direction of what would become a global wrestling juggernaut. When talent stepped through the curtain after matches, they sought validation from one of wrestling's most respected figures. He was Neon, Monsoon once remarked about the Ultimate Warrior, according to Bruce Pritchard. This judgment came from the company gatekeeper, a man whose opinions determined who received pushes and who languished in mid-card obscurity. Wrestlers understood that impressing Vince might get you hired, but impressing Monsoon kept you employed. Monsoon's position was uniquely powerful because he straddled two different wrestling eras. As a trusted ally of Vince McMahon Sr. during the territorial days, he carried that credibility forward when Vince Jr. took over and began national expansion. This continuity provided stability during massive change, giving wrestlers a familiar face as the business transformed around them. When young talents needed guidance on adapting their styles to television, Monsoon became the bridge between wrestling's regional past and its national future. His authority extended beyond the announce table into talent development, match outcomes, and production elements. According to those close to the company during this era, Vince frequently deferred to Monsoon on matters of in-ring psychology and talent evaluation. Pat Patterson, a fellow WWE executive, once noted, "When Gorilla spoke about a wrestler's potential, even Vince listened." Monsoon's mentorship proved invaluable to younger wrestlers. Having succeeded as both a feared heel and respected announcer, he offered unique insights into character development. His guidance on in-ring psychology, telling compelling stories through wrestling rather than executing moves, elevated countless careers during WWE's formative national years. Bobby Heenan, his broadcast partner, later reflected, "Gorilla taught wrestlers how to make fans believe, which is the hardest part of the business." The locker room respected Monsoon's unwavering commitment to professionalism. This moral code became evident during the confrontation between Nails and Vince McMahon, when Nails physically attacked McMahon in a pay dispute. Monsoon's fierce protective response demonstrated his belief that the wrestling business demanded respect from those within it. As Jim Ross would later say, Gorilla viewed disrespect to the business as a personal affront. His relationship with Vince McMahon Jr. represented a fascinating power dynamic. While McMahon was the boss, Monsoon could speak directly to the notoriously controlling owner. Having been there from the beginning of Vince's takeover, Monsoon had earned trust that allowed him to voice disagreements without fear. This created a crucial check on McMahon's creative impulses, with Monsoon serving as the voice of reason when storylines threatened to become truly absurd. For wrestlers navigating the politically charged waters of 1980s WWE, Monsoon offered fairness in an often unfair business. His office became a safe haven where performers could voice concerns. This buffer role prevented countless problems from escalating into major issues during the company's critical growth period. When disputes arose over finishes or storylines, Monsoon found middle ground solutions that satisfied both creative needs and performer concerns. On screen, viewers saw the dignified voice of reason. Backstage, wrestlers faced the intimidating company enforcer whose approval meant everything. This duality served multiple functions. He was simultaneously a beloved announcer to fans, respected executive to talent, and trusted advisor to management. His rise to influence had deep roots. As a significant shareholder in Capital Wrestling during the territorial days, Monsoon had financial stake long before becoming the company's on-screen voice. When Vince McMahon Jr. purchased the company from his father, acquiring Monsoon's shares was a priority, not just for control, but to retain his institutional knowledge. This business arrangement transformed into lifetime employment, cementing his place regardless of his on-screen role. Remarkably, Monsoon maintained influence without succumbing to ego. While many executives demanded public acknowledgement, he shaped the business from behind the scenes while letting others take credit. This humility enhanced his authority, as wrestlers recognized his guidance came from genuine concern for the product. In an industry dominated by outsized personalities, Monsoon's understated leadership proved most effective. As WWE grew from regional attraction to global entertainment company, Monsoon's steady hand provided essential stability. His presence reassured old-school wrestling fans that despite increasingly cartoonish characters, respect for wrestling tradition remained. For new viewers drawn in by larger-than-life personalities, Monsoon's authoritative commentary created a sense they were watching a legitimate sporting contest, enhancing the suspension of disbelief so crucial to wrestling's appeal. Behind the imposing figure who maintained order in WWE's chaotic landscape existed another Robert Marella entirely, one whose priorities might surprise even his most dedicated fans. The man who portrayed the savage gorilla Monsoon on screen lived a life built on education, family values, and business acumen when the cameras stopped rolling. For wrestlers of Marella's era, family often took a backseat to the demanding schedule of life on the road. While many of his contemporaries saw their personal lives crumble under the pressure, Marella managed to build something remarkably stable. In an industry notorious for broken homes and absent fathers, he stood as a rare exception. His commitment to maintaining a normal family environment required careful planning and significant sacrifice as he balanced the grueling travel schedule of professional wrestling with his responsibilities at home. This balancing act reflected a deeper philosophy about what truly mattered in life. Marella maintained a clear separation between his professional and personal identities. To the television audience, he was the fearsome gorilla Monsoon, but to his family, he was simply Robert, a dedicated husband and father who happened to work in the unusual world of professional wrestling. The contrast between his on-screen character and his real personality was striking. His colleagues knew him as a thoughtful, educated man with intellectual depth rarely associated with professional wrestlers of his era. While many entered the business directly from high school or after brief athletic careers, Marella held a physical education degree from Ithaca College. This formal education provided him with analytical skills and a strategic mindset that served him well throughout his career. Professional wrestling didn't consume Marella's identity like it did for many performers. While maintaining his position in WWE, he simultaneously ran a successful travel agency with his wife. This entrepreneurial venture provided financial stability beyond wrestling's boom and bust cycles, a prudent decision that reflected his forward-thinking approach to life. Unlike many wrestlers who struggled financially after their in-ring careers ended, Marella created multiple income streams that ensured long-term security for his family. A telling insight into Marella's character comes from his approach to his son Joey's wrestling career. When Joey chose to follow his father into the business, this supportive yet hands-off approach demonstrated his belief that success had to be self-directed to be meaningful. Few friendships in wrestling were as striking as Marella's close bond with Andre the Giant. These two imposing figures formed a genuine connection that transcended their on-screen roles. Their friendship revealed Marella's warmth and capacity for authentic connection. qualities that seemed at odds with the intimidating presence he projected on television. This ability to form meaningful relationships behind the scenes made him a beloved figure among his peers, who saw beyond the character to the man himself. Marella used wrestling as a means to support a life built on traditional values and relationships. For him, wrestling remained a job rather than an all-consuming identity, allowing him to maintain perspective even as he achieved significant success in the industry. This grounded approach served him well through the dramatic changes in wrestling's landscape. As the business transformed from territorial attraction to global entertainment, Marella adapted professionally while maintaining personal stability. The true measure of Marella's character emerged through adversity. The physical toll of his wrestling career, deliberately maintaining his imposing size, created health complications that would have devastated someone with less resilience. Through these challenges, he maintained his professional commitments and family priorities, refusing to let physical limitations define his approach to life. Throughout his career, Marella mentored younger wrestlers with a unique perspective. Rather than encouraging the excesses that often accompanied wrestling fame, he emphasized professionalism, financial planning, and maintaining personal relationships outside the business. These lessons potentially saved many younger performers from the pitfalls that claimed so many of their predecessors. What makes Marella's story particularly powerful is that he maintained these values through wrestling's most tumultuous era. As the business transformed globally, many participants lost themselves in the whirlwind of sudden fame. Marella, however, remained remarkably consistent, adapting professionally while maintaining his core personal priorities. This consistency extended to his friendships. While the wrestling world was often characterized by shifting alliances, Marella cultivated genuine connections that lasted decades. In an industry known for larger-than-life characters, Marella's legacy endures through the balance he struck between professional success and personal fulfillment, a rare achievement that set him apart from many of his contemporaries. While those deep friendships sustained Gorilla Monsoon throughout his career, they would be tested in ways no one could have predicted. The relationships Monsoon had cultivated over decades would become his lifeline as the 1990s brought a series of devastating blows that would have broken a less resilient man. The darkest chapter of Monsoon's life began in 1994, when his son Joey Marella was killed in a car accident. Joey, who had carved his own path in the wrestling business as a referee, was just 29 years old when tragedy struck. "I saw the light leave his eyes," recalled a fellow referee who had been with Joey that night. For a man who had prided himself on maintaining control, whether as the fearsome villain in the ring or the authoritative voice at the announce table, this was a loss no script could prepare him for. The grief was overwhelming, particularly as Monsoon was already battling deteriorating health. Behind the composed demeanor at the commentary desk, Monsoon endured a private struggle with diabetes and heart disease. These conditions had begun to significantly impact his once robust physique, an ironic twist given the deliberate weight gain that had created his imposing in-ring persona now contributed to his medical complications. He continued his WWE duties while privately processing his grief, his stoicism rarely allowing the audience to glimpse the depth of his pain. The timing of these concurrent challenges, losing his son while his own health declined, created a burden that tested his remarkable resilience. When most men would have retreated from public life, Gorilla showed up, remembered Pat Patterson, a longtime colleague. He channeled his grief into his work, never missing a beat on commentary despite what he was going through personally. By the mid-1990s, his physical decline became more evident to viewers. WWE gradually reduced his on-screen role to accommodate his limitations. His mobility decreased and the seemingly boundless energy that had once allowed him to dominate the ring was fading. Medical reports from the time indicated his diabetes had progressed to a severe stage, affecting multiple systems in his body. Wrestling fans witnessed a dramatic transformation in his final years. Even as his body failed him, his mind remained sharp, and his passion for wrestling never wavered. When health permitted, he continued offering guidance to younger talent from his unparalleled experience. Monsoon's final major WWE appearance came at WrestleMania 15 in 1999, serving as a judge for the Brawl for All contest. When the camera focused on him during his introduction, The audience erupted in a spontaneous standing ovation. A moment made more powerful, as arena staff later reported it lasted nearly a full minute, bringing production temporarily to a standstill. The frail figure they saw that night bore little resemblance to either the terrifying villain or the distinguished commentator they remembered. Yet the crowd's reaction demonstrated that Monsoon's connection with wrestling fans transcended his physical condition. They were honoring his contributions to the business they loved. Throughout these difficult final years, the wrestling fraternity rallied around one of its most respected figures. Particularly touching was the continued friendship with Bobby Heenan, whose genuine concern for his longtime broadcast partner revealed the depth of their bond beyond the cameras. On October 6, 1999, just months after his WrestleMania 15 appearance, Gorilla Monsoon passed away from heart failure due to complications from diabetes at his home in Willingboro Township, New Jersey. He was 62 years old. The news sent shockwaves through the wrestling world, leading WWE to dedicate an entire episode of SmackDown to his memory. Jim Ross delivered a particularly moving tribute, speaking of Monsoon as a mentor, friend, and father figure to many in the business. The most emotional moment came when Bobby Heenan, fighting back tears, simply said, "I'll miss you, pal." A heartfelt farewell that captured the genuine bond between two men who had created countless memories together. What made Monsoon's passing especially poignant was how it marked the end of an era in professional wrestling. He had been a bridge between wrestling's territorial days and its emergence as global entertainment. He had transformed from villain to voice of reason, from feared opponent to respected leader. His journey paralleled the evolution of wrestling itself, from regional attraction to international phenomenon. In the aftermath of his death, tributes poured in from across the wrestling landscape. Veterans who had shared locker rooms with him decades earlier stood alongside current stars who had benefited from his guidance. The universal respect he commanded spoke volumes about a man who had navigated the often treacherous waters of professional wrestling while maintaining his integrity and earning the admiration of peers and fans alike. While wrestling's greatest figures are immortalized in highlight reels and Hall of Fame ceremonies, Gorilla Monsoon achieved something far rarer. His name became part of wrestling's everyday language and physical space. Behind every entrance curtain in wrestling companies worldwide stands an area known as the Gorilla Position, a living memorial that ensures Monsoon's legacy continues decades after his passing. The Gorilla Position serves as the heartbeat of wrestling productions. Situated directly behind the entrance curtain, it functions as the final staging ground before wrestlers step into the spotlight. Here, last-minute instructions are given, attire adjusted, and performers mentally prepare for their moments. After matches, wrestlers return to this same spot for immediate feedback, discuss performance issues, and receive guidance for future storylines. What makes this tribute remarkable is how it's transcended WWE's boundaries. Wrestling promotions worldwide have adopted the term Gorilla Position, regardless of whether they have any direct connection to Monsoon or WWE. Companies that never employed him, that formed long after his passing, or that compete directly with WWE honor him through this naming tradition. The wrestling industry collectively recognized that Monsoon's contributions were fundamental enough that his memory deserved preservation in the very architecture of the business. Walking through Gorilla feels like a rite of passage, noted AEW wrestler Bryan Danielson in a recent interview. Even in companies with no connection to WWE, we call it that. It's our connection to wrestling's lineage. This widespread adoption speaks volumes about Monsoon's influence. In an industry notorious for erasing its past, the persistence of this simple naming convention stands as a remarkable exception. New wrestlers learn the term Gorilla Position on their first day, often before seeing any of Monsoon's work. They inherit this linguistic tradition connecting them to wrestling's past, whether they realize it or not. The position's importance mirrors Monsoon's own role in wrestling. Just as he watched over WWE productions from that spot, offering guidance and maintaining standards, the Gorilla Position continues to serve as wrestling's most critical backstage area. It's where split-second decisions are made, performers receive final encouragement, and the controlled chaos of wrestling production coalesces. The name fits because the function of the area reflects his contributions to wrestling. bringing order, professionalism, and structure to an often chaotic art form. Monsoon received formal recognition when inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 1994. The ceremony featured a poignant moment when his longtime broadcast partner, Bobby Heenan, delivered the induction speech. Their on-screen chemistry had been legendary, but Heenan's speech revealed the depth of their personal connection. With his characteristic blend of humor and sincere emotion, Heenan honored his friend before ending with a touching tribute. "The only thing missing tonight is Gorilla Monsoon." That induction came during a difficult time in Monsoon's life, the same year he lost his son Joey. While the ceremony highlighted his professional achievements, it also served as a reminder of his personal struggles away from the spotlight. This duality, the public legend and the private man, makes Monsoon's legacy compelling to wrestling fans who appreciate both aspects of his story. Broadcasting students continue studying Monsoon's work decades after his passing. His commentary style, blending technically credible match calling with entertainment value, remains the gold standard. Modern commentators analyze how Monsoon balanced multiple aspects of wrestling presentation, explaining technical aspects for newcomers, building character-driven stories through his reactions, and adding gravitas to significant moments without overshadowing the in-ring action. Interestingly, this enduring influence persisted despite Monsoon being voted worst announcer multiple times by the Wrestling Observer newsletter. These assessments highlight the difference between technical broadcasting excellence and emotional connection. While critics found fault with specific aspects of his delivery, fans embraced Monsoon's voice as the soundtrack to wrestling's most memorable moments. His genuine excitement and chemistry with partners created a broadcasting legacy that transcended traditional measures of announcing excellence. His presence is still felt in that space. The gorilla position ensures Monsoon achieves a form of immortality few other wrestling figures can claim. While most legends live on through archived footage and memories of aging fans, Monsoon's name is spoken at every wrestling show worldwide. New generations of wrestlers reference the gorilla position daily, keeping his name in active use rather than relegated to retrospectives. This naming tradition creates a unique cycle of remembrance. Every wrestler passes through the gorilla position throughout their career, from first match to retirement, making this space named for Monsoon central to their professional experience. In this way, Monsoon becomes woven into the fabric of every wrestling career that follows his own. The gorilla position represents the function Monsoon served in wrestling, the crucial connection point between creative vision and execution, forever linking his legacy to the heartbeat of the industry he helped define. Few wrestling figures have successfully transformed from monster heel to beloved announcer, yet many fans have no idea the intimidating villain and the articulate commentator were one and the same person. While most wrestling careers follow predictable trajectories, Monsoon achieved something nearly impossible, becoming equally legendary in two completely different roles, leaving wrestling historians to debate which version of Gorilla Monsoon truly left the deeper mark on the business. The duality of Monsoon's career creates a fascinating historical puzzle. When fans from different eras gather, they might describe entirely different people while talking about the same man. Younger fans know only the distinguished voice who guided them through wrestling's golden age, while older fans remember cowering as the wild man from Manchuria terrorized their heroes. This complete disconnect between his two personas speaks to how thoroughly Monsoon reinvented himself when the time came to move beyond in-ring competition. Looking at his in-ring impact, Monsoon's brutal chops and the fearsome Manchurian splash struck legitimate fear in audiences across the territories. Children would literally hide behind their parents when Monsoon stalked around the ring, and adult fans respected his legitimacy as a formidable force of nature. This effectiveness as a villain made Monsoon a financial draw for nearly 2 decades, helping establish the WWF as a premier territory in the Northeast. His ability to generate genuine heat from crowds set a standard for heel performers. Promoters protected his character by rarely allowing clean losses. Monsoon was too valuable as an unstoppable monster to diminish through decisive defeats. Yet for all his success in the ring, Monsoon's second act behind the microphone carved an equally significant path in wrestling history. Like a butterfly emerging from a chrysalis, the terrifying villain transformed into wrestling's voice of reason. His partnership with Jesse Ventura revolutionized wrestling commentary by establishing the heel-face dynamic that broadcasts still employ today. Ventura flipped the script by making excuses for the heels, and Monsoon played the perfect counterpoint, challenging him, grounding him, and creating a conversational dynamic that enhanced matches. Monsoon's articulate vocabulary and professional demeanor helped legitimize wrestling during its mainstream explosion. His authoritative voice guided millions of new fans through the spectacle during the rock and wrestling era, explaining match psychology while conveying appropriate excitement at key moments. His chemistry with Bobby, the Brain Heenan, created what many consider wrestling's greatest commentary team. Their genuine friendship translated to natural on-screen banter that fans found irresistible. Their push and pull dynamic, with Monsoon playing the straight man to Heenan's outlandish heel persona, created countless memorable moments that fans still quote decades later. Beyond his visible roles, Monsoon's influence extended behind the curtain, where he shaped WWE's direction during its formative national expansion. As a respected locker room leader, he mentored younger performers on in-ring psychology and character development. His shareholder status in the WWF and trusted position with both Vince McMahon Sr. and Jr. allowed him to help guide the company through its evolution from regional promotion to global entertainment powerhouse. What makes Monsoon's transformation remarkable is that such career reinventions rarely succeed in wrestling. The industry is littered with performers who struggled after their in-ring careers ended. Monsoon's journey is like a master musician who, after conquering one instrument, picks up another entirely different one and achieves equal virtuosity, a feat almost unheard of in any field. The split nature of Monsoon's legacy creates an ongoing debate among wrestling historians. Which version had the greater impact? Those who champion his in-ring career point to his effectiveness as a villain who helped establish the WWF as a premier territory. Those who elevate his announcing career note how his voice guided wrestling through its most significant period of mainstream growth, reaching audiences exponentially larger than territorial wrestling ever could. Modern wrestling continues to acknowledge Monsoon's dual legacy. WWE production features both his monstrous in-ring work and his beloved commentary in historical packages. Perhaps most tellingly, the gorilla position, the backstage area just behind the entrance curtain where performers receive final instructions, ensures his name remains in daily use throughout the industry. This naming tradition has spread beyond WWE, with wrestling companies worldwide adopting the term, forever linking the monster and the mentor, two sides of a remarkable wrestling coin that continues to influence the business he loved long after his passing. Few names in professional wrestling command the level of respect that Gorilla Monsoon's does, even decades after his passing. His enduring legacy is preserved through the very architecture of the industry itself. Every time a WWE performer stands in the gorilla position, awaiting their entrance or receiving post-match feedback, Monsoon's contribution to wrestling is acknowledged. This naming tradition ensures Monsoon remains part of wrestling's daily vocabulary as the industry evolves. His 1994 WWE Hall of Fame induction formally recognized what insiders already knew. Check out our video on Sid Udy and how he lost his Hall of Fame legacy. Like and subscribe for 100 years of luck. Until next time.